Hi everyone, JP here. Today we're talking about the latest development in the Lootbox saga, which is the microtransaction backtracking on Shadow of War by Monolith and Warner Brothers. So if you didn't hear, at the start of this month, Monolith made this announcement stating they would be releasing a series of free updates removing all microtransactions from Shadow of War. As part of this announcement, they say, while purchasing orcs in the market is more immediate and provides additional player options, we've come to realize that providing this choice risks undermining the heart of our game. Well, no shit. This is such an unbelievably patronizing way to frame what they've done. So, 6 months after release, when no one's playing your game anymore, suddenly you come to this realization. The idea that they've only just come to this realization flies in the face of what everyone knows is the obvious truth. That they always knew these market options undermined the heart of their game, but they put them in anyway because they knew it would make them more money. If you're really trying to win back some credibility from your customers, just be fucking honest about it. Anything less and you're just insulting their intelligence. That, however, brings me to my next question. Why do this? On the surface, it seems obvious. There's recently been a massive customer revolt against loot boxes after the whole Battlefront 2 fiasco. And now Warner Brothers wants to distance themselves from that and avoid the fallout. After the most profitable period for microtransactions has passed, of course. Well, I've been thinking, and this is going to get a bit speculative on my part, but I honestly think there's a bit more at play here. Now, first of all, for reasons I just alluded to earlier, I don't think this is just a play for credibility or goodwill or hearts and minds, that sort of thing. Because if it is, then they're complete idiots. If they really wanted to achieve genuine credibility, they would have come out with this announcement much sooner, like, say, as soon as the whole Battlefront fiasco erupted. They also wouldn't have phrased their announcement in such a patronizing and condescending way, acting like they're doing us all some great kindness for undoing all the shit that compromises their game that they put in on purpose. If they wanted to do this right, Warner Brothers would come out openly and honestly saying, yeah, a mistake's been made. We've been directing our developers to implement these exploitative schemes that undermine the creative integrity of their games, and we pledge to move away from this kind of thing in future. That is, to me, in a nutshell, what genuine credibility would sound like, but that's not what we got here. Not even close. So why come out publicly and make such a weak play then if they know it's not actually going to work or gain them any goodwill? Well, like I said earlier, I'm in the realm of speculation here, so I might be totally wrong, but hear me out, because I feel like their actual motivations could still be just as cynical as you'd expect. So, if we go back and look at their announcement here, they're not actually completing the removal of the market until July. That will be 3 months after the announcement. The ability to purchase gold, that doesn't stop till May the 8th. And that's over a month after the announcement. Now, obviously, they would have known this news was going to generate a bit of press for them, and off the back of that, maybe even a few more sales. I know it seems a bit counterintuitive to suggest that they'd get more sales out of it when I've already tried to make the point that nobody's going to give them any more credibility from this move, and they know it. But not every gamer is engaged into the opinion sphere like we all are, so inevitably some might go for it, and at the end of the day, a few extra sales is better than none at all, right? And I think they've effectively embedded a signal into the announcement that basically says, hey, by the way, if you still want to buy stuff from the market, go for it. We'll wait. We got time. Overall, it's not a bad way to eke a few more sales out of a marketplace in a game that's effectively dead by now. Like I said earlier, a few more sales, it's better than none. But if they really are truly so cynical and know that their announcement isn't going to fool anybody and really just want to scoop up a few more market sales, then why even remove the market at all in the first place? Well, when Shadow of War got released, it got a decent critical reception, it sold a decent amount. The monetization that was in the game, it didn't go unnoticed, but it also didn't develop into any sort of big public drama. Of course, Battlefront 2 came out a couple months later though, and that did explode into a fiasco. And while EA and Battlefront itself bore the consequences of that, it also really stirred up general negative sentiment in the wider community surrounding AAA monetization and games as a service. So, a couple months after Battlefront, Shadow of War's first story DLC comes out, Blade of Galadriel, and I'm starting to wonder, how well did it sell? It didn't review very well, and I wonder if the freshly stirred stigma on AAA monetization might have also soured the perceptions of Shadow of War a bit and affected the sales of the DLC. But why even speculate on the sales of that DLC? Because there's something that's been glanced over a bit in the reporting of the story on the news sites, and that's the fact that May the 8th, the day they remove the ability to buy loot boxes, is also the day that they release their final piece of DLC for the game, Desolation of Mordor. Now, the fact that these things happen on the exact same day isn't actually important. Obviously, when you're pushing out an update with new content, that's also when you push out any other updates you want to do to the game. But in the context of everything we've talked about so far, I really can't help but think that this is all just one last roll of the dice to boost the profile of this game and boost sales of this last piece of DLC before Shadow of War just gets put out to pasture and is left to scrape up whatever sales it can from bargain bins and humble bundles and super cheap Steam sales. So ultimately the proof will be in the pudding for Warner Brothers. I'll be keeping a very close eye on their upcoming releases to see exactly how they approach monetization from here. I don't believe any of their core AAA studios have announced any new titles at this stage, but we know Rocksteady's been toiling away on a new project for a while now. That's the developer behind the Batman Arkham series, by the way. You know, the open world action adventure series. It's very much in the same vein as Shadow of War. Well, they've declared the Arkham saga complete, but whatever the IP is that they've moved on to, there's no reason to think they'll be deviating very far from their roots in the open world action adventure genre. These types of games, they're easy to monetize, and don't forget that this game would have been in development for several years now, long before all this ill sentiment surrounding loot boxes and monetization came to a head. So it's quite possible they've already committed to game design decisions built around whatever monetization elements Warner Brothers might have wanted to implement. So it'll be very interesting to see what kind of signals they put out regarding monetization when the game is finally announced. Anyway guys, thanks for listening to my crazy ramblings masquerading as a thoughtful analysis. I hope it gives you some food for thought, or at least gives you a bit of a laugh. But check back with me again in future if you want to hear more dubious analysis of gaming news. Until then, I'll catch you all later.